When you check in at the airport counter, place your suitcase on the conveyor belt and watch the staff attach the baggage tag. The belt slowly starts moving. Your suitcase slides into the opening behind the counter and disappears from sight. For the next few hours, you can't see it. You can't touch it. You simply assume it will fly with you to your destination and eventually show up again on a baggage carousel at another airport. Most people think checked luggage just goes from the counter to the aircraft, then gets loaded into the cargo hold. But the real journey is far more complicated than that. Let's say you're flying from Los Angeles to London with a connection in Dubai. Your suitcase does not simply follow you to the gate. It enters a massive hidden system beneath the airport. Identification, security screening, sorting, temporary storage, delivery to the right aircraft stand at exactly the right moment, and then loading into the cargo hold by ground crews. When it reaches Dubai, it has to go through another complete process inside a different airport before it can finally make it to London. According to the latest global airport rankings released by ACI World in 2026, global airport passenger traffic in 2025 was estimated at 9.8 billion passengers, up 3.6% from 2024. And in the latest long-term forecast, global airport traffic could rise further to 10.2 billion passengers in 2026. That means airports are not dealing with a few hundred suitcases a day. They are managing a massive network made up of passengers, flights, conveyor belts, ground vehicles, loading windows, and transfer procedures. So in this video, we are going to follow one ordinary suitcase and see where it actually goes after it disappears behind the check-in counter. Many people think the baggage tag is just a receipt used to claim their suitcase later. But to the airport system, that thin piece of paper is more important than the suitcase itself. From the moment the tag is attached, your suitcase is no longer just an ordinary bag. It becomes a piece of data inside the system, identifiable, sortable, and trackable. The baggage tag contains the three-letter destination airport code, the flight number, transfer information, a barcode, and machine-readable identification data. For example, Los Angeles is LAX. New York Kennedy is JFK. London Heathrow is LFCHR. To passengers, these are just three letters. But to the system, they represent the entire route your suitcase is supposed to follow. The airport does not look at the color or brand of your suitcase to decide where it should go. The only thing it recognizes is the information on the baggage tag. So as soon as your suitcase leaves the counter, its first stop is a scanning point. A machine reads the baggage tag. The system confirms which passenger the bag belongs to, which city it is flying to, which flight it is on, whether it needs to transfer, and which area it should be sent to. If the scan works, the bag moves on to the next part of its journey. If the scan fails, that is where trouble begins. To the system, a suitcase with no readable identity is like a package with no address. It physically exists, but the system temporarily does not know where to send it. At the counter, all you may see is a short stretch of conveyor belt. But behind the walls, that belt is connected to an extremely complex underground transport network. Inside that network, bags turn, split off, rise, drop, slide forward, and pass through one scanning gate after another. At every key point, the system makes another decision. Should this bag go left or right? Should it keep moving or enter a waiting area? Should it go to the domestic flight area or the international flight area? Should it stay on the normal route or be sent for manual inspection? It is like an automated sorting factory hidden beneath the airport, except it is not sorting parcels. It is sorting passengers' luggage. And airport baggage systems face much more pressure than parcel sorting systems. If a package arrives half a day late, most of the time it is just a delay. If a suitcase is a few minutes late, it may miss the aircraft. Flights cannot wait forever for a handful of bags. So what this system is really racing against is not just space. It is time. It has to move thousands of pieces of luggage toward different flights within a limited window. Every bag is moving. Every flight has a baggage cutoff time. Every wrong turn in the sorting process can completely separate a bag from its passenger. After your suitcase enters the internal system, it first passes through X-ray screening equipment. The system automatically scans the contents of the bag for prohibited or suspicious items. If everything looks normal, the bag continues along the main process. If the system detects something unusual, the bag is automatically diverted to a dedicated area, where staff can open it and carry out a further inspection. This is one reason why some bags seem to slow down. The first goal of an airport baggage system is never to get the suitcase onto the aircraft as quickly as possible. The first goal is to confirm whether that suitcase is allowed to fly at all. Only bags that pass security screening are allowed to continue toward the sorting area. At a major airport, hundreds of flights may be preparing to depart at the same time. Some are already boarding. Some are still waiting for the inbound aircraft to land. Some are delayed. Some have changed gates at the last minute. Some passengers check their bags 3 hours early. Others arrive at the counter right before the baggage cutoff time. All of these bags flow into the same system. The system has to keep deciding, which flight does this bag belong to? What is the current status of that flight? Is it too early to send it over, or will it be too late if it waits? At its core, this is a scheduling system. It does not just make bags move. It decides when they move, where they go, and when they should stop and wait. That is where another stage comes in, the baggage storage area. If you check your bag long before departure and the aircraft has not started loading yet, your suitcase cannot just sit on the conveyor belt the whole time. The system sends it into a temporary buffer area, basically a waiting room for airport luggage. Bags that arrive early stay there on standby. When the flight gets close to its loading window, the system releases that group of bags together and sends them toward the loading area for the correct flight. Before boarding is complete, the baggage has to be handed over to the ground operations team. The bags are sent to the loading area for the correct flight. Ground crews gather and organize all the bags for that flight. Smaller bags are loaded into baggage carts. Large wide-body aircraft often use unit load devices, standardized cargo loading units. But no matter which method is used, luggage cannot simply be piled up at random. Aircraft have strict weight and balance requirements. If a flight stops at multiple airports, or if some bags need to make a priority connection, the bags that have to come off first should be placed closer to the outside. Otherwise, when the aircraft reaches the next stop, the bags that need to be unloaded may be buried deep inside, forcing ground crews to spend a lot of time searching through the hold. By this point, your suitcase has already gone through 6 stages: identification, scanning, security screening, sorting, temporary storage, and aircraft loading. But its journey is still far from over. If it is a direct flight, the next part of the journey is relatively simple. The aircraft lands, the bags are unloaded, and they enter the arrival system. But once a connection is involved, like the Los Angeles to London trip through Dubai we mentioned earlier, the complexity of the baggage journey doubles. After the first aircraft lands in Dubai, ground crews first have to unload the cargo hold. The system then has to quickly separate the bags, which ones belong to passengers ending their trip in Dubai, and which ones need to continue on to London. Transfer bags are scanned again, sorted again, and sent toward the loading area for the next flight. If there is plenty of connection time, everything is usually fine. But if the first flight is delayed, the connecting airport is too large, or the next aircraft is about to close its doors, the bag may not make it. This is not a rare problem. CETA's report shows that 41% of all mishandled bags happen during transfers, making the transfer process the leading cause of baggage problems. Because a transfer is never as simple as moving a suitcase from one aircraft to another. It has to complete an entire process in a very short amount of time. Unloading, scanning, sorting, transport, and loading again. Many people have experienced this. The passenger makes the connecting flight, but the bag does not. The reason is very simple. People can run. Bags cannot. You can hurry through the terminal, follow the signs, take a shortcut, or use a fast transfer lane. But your bag cannot. It has to follow the process step by step. It cannot skip a single stage. This brings us to the question many travelers really care about. Why do bags get lost? But in reality, most lost luggage is not truly lost. It is simply out of sync with the passenger. Globally, The mishandled baggage rate is 6.3 bags per 1,000 passengers. That may not sound like much, but when applied to 5.3 billion passengers, it still means 33.4 million bags in a year did not complete their journey as planned. Among those mishandled bags, 74% were simply delayed. Only 8% were truly lost or stolen. The rest involved damaged bags, missing contents, and other issues. This is where the vulnerability of the entire baggage system becomes clear. It depends on a long chain of steps, all working correctly. If any one link breaks, the bag and the passenger can separate. But the good news is that most mishandled bags can be recovered. According to SETA's data, more than 66% of mishandled bags can be located and processed through tracking systems within 48 hours. Today, more and more airports and airlines are trying to make this system more transparent. In the past, once you handed over your bag, it was basically a black box. You did not know whether it had passed security screening. You did not know whether it had been loaded onto the aircraft. You did not know whether it had arrived with you. The aviation industry is turning baggage into something that can be tracked from start to finish. This is the idea behind the Global Baggage Tracking Standard, which requires airlines to create records at least 4 key points: when the bag is accepted, when it is loaded onto the aircraft, during transfer, and when it is delivered back to the passenger. Those 4 points may sound simple, but they change the logic of the entire system. In the past, airlines looked for the bag after it went missing. Now, the bag leaves a trace throughout the journey. Once something goes wrong, the system can quickly identify which part of the chain failed. That is why many airline apps now show baggage status clearly, step by step. In the Global Baggage Roadmap released by IATA in 2025, baggage tracking and automation are also listed as core priorities for the next decade. Electronic baggage tags, GPS positioning, robotic sorting, and other technologies will give passengers a much more real-time view of where their bags are. But to achieve stable tracking, the first problem to solve is identification. An IATA survey shows that 75% of airports worldwide already have baggage tracking capabilities. In terms of identification technology, the mainstream method is still optical barcode scanning. At the same time, RFID radio frequency identification is being adopted by more major airports, and the RFID adoption rate among very large hub airports has already reached 54%. RFID does not require the scanner to line up directly with the code. It can be read reliably from a distance, making it much more dependable than traditional barcodes. But upgrading airports around the world does not happen overnight. Many small and medium-sized airports still rely on traditional barcodes. In the future, baggage systems will become more automated and more transparent. But they will never reach zero errors. Because luggage does not travel alone. It is tied to flight schedules, weather, airport congestion, ground crew efficiency, connection times, security rules, and the passenger's own itinerary. As long as those variables exist, the system will always have to deal with unexpected situations. So let's go back to the moment your suitcase slides into the conveyor belt at the check-in counter. That is when it begins a journey you cannot see. It is given an identity by its baggage tag. It enters an underground conveyor network. It passes through security screening. It moves through sorting and scheduling. At the right moment, it is sent into the aircraft's cargo hold. And finally, it reappears on the carousel at your destination. From the outside, it looks like a suitcase simply moves from one conveyor belt to another. But between those two conveyor belts is a massive, precise, and invisible logistics network. Every day, this system repeats the same task, making countless suitcases that all look more or less the same go exactly where they are supposed to go. The most mysterious place in an airport is not the runway. It is not the control tower. It is the world behind the conveyor belt, the one passengers almost never get to see. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. We'll keep exploring the hidden systems behind things that happen every day, but that most people rarely truly see. See you in the next one.